This tale opens with multiple system alerts flashing across screens, warning citizens of bizarre incidents unfolding worldwide. A colossal abalone was discovered by fishermen along the shore, so massive that even a dozen people couldn't encircle it, believed to be a mutation triggered by nuclear wastewater. Reports also surfaced of an ancient tree in a popular tourist spot growing uncontrollably, its roots stretching for kilometers, causing the earth to split, possibly due to an unusual seismic pulse. The alerts continued, describing enormous vines plummeting from the heavens, turning fairy tales into reality, and news of subway tracks demolished in several locations, leading to a few casualties. Most dismissed these as mere sensationalist headlines, no different from the fabricated zombie bite scare years prior. A crowd of students gathered outside the school, finding local gossip far more captivating than the news. Abruptly, their focus shifted to a figure approaching. It was the school's renowned beauty, Chu Ching Li. Whispers spread instantly, speculating whether she was finally about to end things with her boyfriend. Many viewed their relationship as an act of pity on her part. Chu Ching Li had already secured a spot at Ching Chong University, while her boyfriend hadn't even gained admission to a respectable college. Their futures, it seemed, were worlds apart. Chu Qingli approached Fang Yi and called out to him. Fang Yi turned, mildly curious. With an icy demeanor, she declared she'd reflected deeply and concluded their relationship was impractical. High school romances, she said, inevitably reach a moment where reality dawns, revealing incompatibility. A shared life, in her view, demanded not just bravery but alignment in status. For these reasons, she believed it was best to part ways. She silently scoffed, convinced that no matter how he tried to win her back, it would be futile. Fang Yi stayed quiet, and onlookers assumed his silence stemmed from shock so profound it had left him shattered or unhinged. After all, she was the school's dazzling beauty. They anticipated he'd drop to his knees, pleading for another chance. Yet upon closer inspection, they simply deemed him unworthy of a wealthy, stunning girl-frog lusting after a swan. With a steady gaze, Fang Yi agreed to the breakup, stunning Chu Ching Li and the crowd. Seeing she had nothing more to say, he turned away to leave. Flustered, she called after him. Fang Yi glanced back with a sharp look and asked what she wanted. Her eyes blazing with fury, she insisted she didn't care about his thoughts or any schemes he might devise as she was done with him, and she wanted that crystal clear. Fang Yi stared at her and told her not to flatter herself by claiming the title of school beauty. Her eyes widened in shock, a flush creeping across her face. The crowd was floored by Fang Yi's boldness. Fang Yi knew that Chu Ching Li and the others were oblivious to what was coming. He understood that society's current pillars, wealth, education, would soon crumble to dust. They didn't know he had returned from a future catastrophe, reborn into this timeline. To him, the Chu Ching Li standing before him was merely a stranger from a past life. Fang Yi left the school, his mind on far weightier matters. School beauties and social status were trivial when everything was on the brink of upheaval. A true crisis loomed over all of humanity on Blue Star. It had begun the previous night, when Fang Yi awoke to strange fissures, revealing glimpses of the future. A system notification informed him that an aura recovery had been detected, set to fully activate in 364 days, 11 hours, and 59 minutes. When it did, the world would undergo a transformation unlike anything before. Fang Yi felt a mix of confusion and intrigue. Figures materialized before him, and the system declared that society's rules would be rewritten. The age of cultivators was dawning, and strength would become the new currency. Curious, Fang Yi reached out, asking who they were. A peculiar light glowed before him, and a system window appeared, explaining it originated from the universe's edge, powered by advanced algorithms woven with cosmic mysteries. Its purpose was to generate cultivation techniques automatically based on spiritual materials the host touched, noting that no techniques were currently available. Fang Yi extended his hand, eyes widening as it passed through the system window. A monstrous creature emerged, roaring ferociously. Fang Yi froze, terror flooding his eyes. Inside the beast's maw was a corpse, and the system revealed this was his fate, as an ordinary person and the destiny awaiting billions on Blue Star. Swallowing hard, Fang Yi couldn't suppress his fear. He clutched his chest, worry etching his face. Reflecting, he recalled his past life an ordinary man swept up in chaos, fighting to survive with faint hopes of overcoming the disaster. He had witnessed his nation's collapse and the suffering of its people, ultimately unable to escape the mutated beasts. He died in despair, consumed by rage and a burning desire for vengeance. Now, his eyes gleamed with resolve. Perhaps this was why the system had chosen him, granting him a second chance 1 year before the aura recovery. Reaching out again, Fang Yi touched the system's fragments, determined to exploit every anomaly sparked by the aura. The system initiated a fresh assessment. Our young hero's eyes sparkled as the system confirmed a successful connection. A new pathway had opened, allowing him to harness anything in existence as a resource. His goal was to gather potent skills and techniques to grow into a formidable cultivator and rescue the world. In the city, word spread that humanity was grappling with an unparalleled crisis. Solutions from history were useless. The only way forward was to rely on their own power. Most were shocked, but not Fang Yi. When he checked his phone, multiple alerts popped up. He knew the government neither affirmed nor refuted the bizarre events, simply urging people to prepare. This, he understood, was Xia Nation's discreet method of signaling a warning, as reports once dismissed as fantastical would never have spread like this otherwise. Sadness filled his eyes as memories of the past surfaced. He recognized that Xia Nation's subtle, quiet strategy kept citizens calm and trusting in their nation. It was a challenging and gradual approach, far more effective than the turmoil and violence in neighboring countries. Then he recalled the system's words. He could use anything, meaning he should seek out places where anomalies occurred. His focus locked onto his phone, where the top trending story reported that the UV index at Xinjiang University had hit a historic high for the century. A heat advisory urged new students to take precautions and apply sunscreen. Students were skeptical, suspecting even top universities were resorting to sensationalist tactics. They doubted the report, believing such extreme heat could be deadly and must be a paid promotion. Fang Yi glanced at the sky, seeing only clouds. Activating his UV meter, he found it read 0. Perplexed, he wondered how the weather could differ so drastically when Xinjiang University was just a 15-minute drive away. Photos surfaced of a scorching sun over the university, yet students were told registration would proceed, though they should avoid the north gate due to the high UV index, as other entrances remained accessible. Fang Yi couldn't suppress a grin. He knew that when anomalies first appeared, most dismissed them as publicity stunts, but he alone grasped the truth. His eyes gleamed with excitement as his first opportunity emerged. Fang Yi changed his outfit and headed to Xinjiang University. Everyone carried umbrellas, the heat so intense that tree leaves had fallen. Our hero approached the north gate of Xinjiang University, the least crowded area. He sensed something was deeply amiss. Glowing ashes began drifting down from the sky. While students fled to avoid being burned, Fang Yi's gaze remained fixed on the phenomena. He sat and reached out to touch the ashes. The moment his finger made contact, a brilliant light radiated from them, and the system announced it had detected a strong surge in the Yang attribute, unlocking its data template. Energy surged into Fang Yi's body, causing excruciating pain. A dazzling glow emanated from him. Onlookers shielded their eyes to avoid being blinded, unsure if they were hallucinating. The energy incinerated Fang Yi's clothes, forcing him to grit his teeth. He clutched his head, frantic, uncertain if the system had finished processing. It felt like he was on the verge of death. The compilation completed, and Fang Yi gained a Yang attribute skill, the Golden Sun breathing technique. Later, during new student registration at Qingchang University, our protagonist's ex-girlfriend arrived at the registration zone. A guy offered to carry her luggage, followed by others vying for her attention, but she brushed them off, insisting she needed no assistance. She sneered at a nearby couple, but a sudden burst of golden light startled her and the other students. A loudspeaker blared, warning everyone to steer clear of the north gate. Her expression turned grave, and she decided to investigate. At the north gate, a massive surge of golden energy illuminated the area. A shadowy figure emerged from the smoke, exuding a powerful aura. He took a deep breath, his eyes glowing with intense golden light. A screen appeared, notifying him that he had developed a new technique and earned 50 points. He glanced at the screen, wondering about the points' purpose, deciding they'd likely be useful later. Time passed, and night fell under an oddly shaped moon. The young man began practicing his new breathing technique. The next day, a brilliant sun shone, and a fresh energy pulsed through the university. Some students noticed the sky briefly darken and cool as they rushed to the north gate. A large crowd gathered to see what was happening. The university's dean, furious, demanded to know why no one heeded the warning to avoid the area. A group pushed through the crowd, which parted as they reached the center. A hooded figure, with a stern expression, instructed the dean to seal off the north gate entirely. At that moment, the system informed Fang Yi he had purified a contaminated zone. He realized the government was aware of these areas and wondered if others like him existed. Hearing an alert barring entry to the area, he knew the situation had escalated. Students spotted uniformed figures, speculating they were military. From a rooftop, Fang Yi observed the growing attention. His red eyes glowing, he decided it was time to leave and leaped from the building. Below, the mysterious hooded figure crossed the cracked ground, inspecting it closely. Kneeling, she touched the earth to sense residual energy, then picked up a fragment for closer examination. Studying it, she realized a person had caused the energy surge. As officials began dispersing the students, the hooded figure watched from a distance. In the midst of the crowd, the man's former girlfriend is stunned to learn that just one individual was responsible for the act. At that moment, she catches sight of a figure leaping away and briefly wonders if it could be her ex, but she quickly dismisses the idea. With his academic record, he'd never gain admission to this university. Far off at Fang Yi's residence, the sun sets and darkness settles in. Reclining on his bed, the young man grumbles that his body still feels overheated, even after a cold shower. The warmth makes him fear he'll get no rest tonight. He's also anxious that today's events might have drawn attention to him. Picking up his phone, he notices a trending news article about a cultivation society. He recalls how people once dismissed it as an online prank. Then he remembers the cloaked figures at the university, suspecting they're tied to this group. Intrigued, he opens the article to read it fully. It details cultivation stages, from spectral deeds to complete transcendence. In the comments, skeptics mock it as a hoax, but he ponders if the announcement holds truth. Fang Yi reflects on how, in his previous life as an ordinary person, he was unaware of such things. Sitting on his bed, he contemplates the cultivation society and resolves to practice his technique again. Closing his eyes, he concentrates to begin his training. Instantly, he starts sweating as a powerful golden aura swirls around him. He begins to levitate in his room, enveloped in a radiant golden light. A beam illuminates him. The initial step is to fortify his body to contain the forces of heaven and earth. He successfully harnesses the energy, molding it into a sacred axe. His eyes shine brilliantly, and he grins, brimming with power. The system informs him he's attained the novice level and awards him 50 additional points. He recalls the points and reads the display, which indicates a new path is unlocked. The system clarifies that these points can be used to infuse compiled data into any object. He considers the concept of imbuing power into an item and glances at his mug on the table. Extending his hand toward it, a golden glow of energy emanates. The system prompts him to confirm if he wants to spend 1 point to imbue the yang attribute into the mug. He realizes this is akin to enchanting an object to grant it unique abilities. He muses that enchanting a weapon would create a personalized tool for combat. He decides a powered-up weapon will be crucial for what lies ahead. Spotting a small sword on his shelf, he chooses to test the power on it, thinking that if successful, he'll acquire a proper weapon to prepare for monsters. Suddenly, an odd noise from outside the building interrupts him in the dead of night. Outside, a shadowy creature with massive claws lurks, observing Fang Yi's apartment. Its glowing red eyes and sharp teeth gleam in the dark, resembling a monstrous demonic rabbit poised to strike the building. Unaware of the approaching danger, the young man lies in bed, uneasy from his new cultivation method. His eyes, now red, puzzle over the source of the sound, which resembles a rat. He rules out it coming from inside or the pipes, suspecting it might be a neighbor's pet. As he moves through the living room, he reasons that his enhanced hearing makes it normal to pick up neighborly sounds. Focusing his hearing to pinpoint the strange noise, he soon senses something is amiss and grows vigilant. Fang Yi approaches the door and comes face to face with the terrifying creature in the dark hallway. The red-eyed beast glares at him, ready to pounce. Startled, he identifies it as a mutated creature, a memory from his past life sparking fear. Meanwhile, a drone glides over the city at night, indicating others are aware of the threat. On a rooftop, a girl gripes that they still haven't captured the rabbit that consumed a rare fruit. With a lollipop in her mouth, she exudes calm confidence in her mission. She instructs her team to keep updating her on the target's movements. Then, the enigmatic girl leaps from the building's summit to pursue her quarry. Plummeting swiftly, she navigates effortlessly between towering city structures. Abruptly, she senses the mutated beast's energy, realizing she's closing in. Her eyes aglow, she locates the creature and prepares for battle. The mysterious hunter lands forcefully on a rooftop, moving with remarkable agility. Sprinting down a building's side, she receives orders to pursue the target relentlessly. With a flawless landing, she presses on without pause. Leaping from structure to structure, she warns that the creature, having eaten a special fruit, might evolve. At that moment, a man working late glimpses something streak past his window, leaving him baffled. He questions if he's imagining things, but his boss scolds him for idling. Meanwhile, the hunter stands like a silhouette against the moon on the 65th floor. Back in the apartment, Fang Yi confronts the shrieking creature. With his golden eyes, he knows his transformed body can now face it evenly. The beast lunges with its claws, but he evades with astonishing speed. He marvels at how his body has changed, allowing him to see attacks in slow motion. Holding sun energy in his hand, he questions why a mutated beast has appeared so soon. He recalls memories from his past existence and confronts the beast. The man understands that the creature hasn't fully developed yet, and the knight's actions make it fiercer and more powerful, so he charges forward to strike, knowing he must stop it, or everyone in the building will perish. Fang Yi seizes the creature with a hand brimming with energy. With unexpected force, the man bites the bizarre beast without hesitation. He grips the monster tightly, his golden eyes gleaming with a sharp, determined gaze. Then, the young man twirls the creature through the air and notices its tail is its vulnerable point. Seizing the moment, he clutches the beast's tail with all his might. Fang Yi hurls the monster against the window, which shatters under the impact. With his fist radiating a golden glow, he prepares to deliver a mighty blow. The man unleashes a beam of energy that strikes the creature mid-air. The monster is enveloped in the brilliant golden light, but the strange beast clutches the golden energy with its claws, attempting to absorb its power. Fang Yi realizes the creature is trying to siphon his yang energy and resists fiercely. He believes the sun's power is too overwhelming and that the rabbit is merely destroying itself. Shortly after, a golden explosion engulfs the monster, which cannot withstand the immense energy. In the adjacent building, a couple is startled awake by the noise, and the man wonders if it was thunder. He approaches the window to investigate but sees nothing unusual outside. Our hero lands on the ground, surrounded by the remnants of his golden energy. The young man reflects that the creature resembled a ravenous ghost craving his power. After the battle, the monster's eye drops to the floor, emitting an eerie black smoke. With a grave expression, he gazes at the remains of the defeated creature. Without a second thought, the man stomps forcefully on the eye, crushing what's left of the beast. He realizes the night creature was desperate for his opposing yang-type energy. The young man considers that if he were ordinary, the monster would have easily devoured everyone in the building. With this, he knows he must master new techniques to face future threats. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl leaps through the moonlight, moving like a hunter. With remarkable speed, the young woman races down the side of a building. Upon reaching the scene, the mysterious hunter's eyes widen in astonishment. Standing in the dead of night, she wonders if someone else vanquished her target. Kneeling beside the ground, she observes that the target has been obliterated and vows to recover the night attribute. But as she touches the monster's remains, she's startled by a lingering golden energy. The young woman feels an intense heat and a searing power that forces her to recoil immediately. She recalls the energy from the university gate and realizes this is no mere coincidence. Following this revelation, the girl activates her communicator with a resolute and focused expression. She reports to her base that a powerful new forerunner with a unique ability eliminated the target. A voice on the communicator inquires if the same individual cleared the gate and killed the rabbit. A man confirms they lack information on this person and that the association must recruit him. The silver-haired girl concurs with the strategy. She carefully stores the faint flame of energy in a container on her attire. Her superior instructs her to halt her other missions and prioritize locating the new four-air runner. At that, the mysterious hunter calmly unwraps the lollipop she was holding. The young woman places the candy in her mouth and confirms she fully understands the new directive. But before embarking on the mission, the girl mentions she first needs to grab some milk tea to unwind. A voice on the communicator speculates about the identity of this enigmatic person wielding such immense power. The young woman agrees that the president was correct and that she must meet this formidable individual. Fang's day begins with the dawn. He stretches, gearing up for training. He understands that rising early boosts his strength, so he readies himself for another practice. The warrior employs his breathing technique, absorbing the morning's radiant energy. As it surges within him, his eyes shimmer with a golden glow. He steps into the Ghost Axe dimension, sensing the technique's energy manifest. A sudden spike of power catches him off guard. He realizes his strength is growing once more. Energy courses through him, and he concentrates to harness it. Clenching his fist tightly, he feels the power gather in his hand. He calls forth his key axe, noticing the weapon feels significantly lighter. He grips its handle steadfastly, eager to test his newfound might. The fighter raises the golden axe above his head, preparing a mighty strike. He advances to the 2-star Ghost Axe realm, unleashing his power. His eyes blaze with golden fire, reflecting his enhanced strength. Fang's body feels more robust and resilient after this transformation. His rapid growth stems from tapping into the surplus energy from his previous breakthrough. Fang resolves to progress cautiously from now on, advancing step by step. However, his rising power draws attention, necessitating a secluded spot. In the association's office, a man senses an odd shift in the atmosphere. He notices a change in the sun's energy and wonders if it's the new recruit again. Fang locates a tranquil riverside to pursue his plans. A system interface appears, and he confirms he'll imbue his weapon with a unique trait. He recalls attempting this with another item which couldn't withstand the energy. This time, the new blade syncs with his power, forming a solid bond. A system notification verifies the encoding success. Thrilled with his upgraded weapon, he prepares to test its remarkable strength immediately. The test outcome stuns him with the immense power the sword unleashes. A massive golden beam shoots skyward from the blade. The warrior lands, his sword ablaze, feeling the energy surge through him. The swing nearly ignites a fire, revealing the danger of his strength. The smoke from the attack is noticeable, so he knows he's been spotted and must depart. A young woman races toward the smoke he caused. She grumbles that she stepped away briefly and missed it all. Abruptly, she halts, seeing the river is boiling. An agent flies over the affected area, pondering what the newcomer did to the landscape. She can already picture the scolding she'll receive, as things have gone awry since his arrival. A golden glint in the distance piques her curiosity. The hunter is astonished by what she detects. It seems impossible. His power leaped from 1 star to 2 stars, and he crafted a spirit weapon. The association possesses only 2 such weapons, and their creation process is largely unknown. The young woman grows wary, questioning how he gained such power alone, but she dismisses her doubts and begins cleaning up his mess. Far off, Fang Yi contemplates how his weapon now holds the yang attribute, yet he craves more. The system can encode anything, so he plans to add further traits to the blade. Suddenly, his phone vibrates with a message from an unknown sender. He forgot about staying discreet. Now, a stranger invites him to a pioneers group. He's stunned to learn official members must be at least Ghost Axe realm level. The stranger mentions a new pollution zone and invites him to a group hunt. He requests the location, and the stranger sends a file about the lava dragon of the Shadow River. The zone features lava and shares his yang attribute. Thus, Fang accepts the invitation. In the distant Binmu district, a team awaits old Li's friend. One member notes the girl's map was so clear he arrived effortlessly. The blonde girl expresses gratitude for their presence and stresses teamwork. She's from the Cultivation Association and finds the local pioneers lacking in strength. Few know the Cultivation Association is a government entity. Joining it was tough, requiring her family to pull strings, so she dreads failure. Just then, an explorer spots the newcomer and calls out, "Fang!" Fang Yi makes a bold entrance with his new sword, introducing himself to the group. The agent is taken aback by his power, but senses his aura is warm, not threatening. With the team assembled, the leader signals, and they head toward the cave entrance. Fang Yi volunteers to lead, asking the blonde agent to handle the light. As they traverse the cave, a member warns Fang about loose rock. They find it odd that the area isn't yet sweltering. Fang Yi reflects on how quickly the team embraced him, feeling their camaraderie is genuine in these tough times. He presses forward, and the ground beneath him shifts in color, signaling nearby danger. Suddenly, they reach a vast chamber and are awestruck by a river of boiling lava before them. Without pause, Fang charges toward the hazard, prompting the blonde agent to shout at him to be cautious. To everyone's shock, the warrior thrusts his sword into the lava. The explorers panic, yelling for assistance. A fiery blast hurls the team back, and Fang Yi's system detects a global anomaly, beginning to process the data. As he drove his sword into the lava, Fang Yi's system identified a new power: the inner flame, with extreme internal heat and explosive traits, and the Scarlet Flame Sword technique, which unleashed its force when the blade was drawn, enveloping it in fire and lightning. Determined, Fang Yi gripped his sword. His eyes and the blade glowed with fiery energy, perfectly suited for his Tang sword. Below, the other explorers, knocked back by the earlier blast, watched in awe as Fang Yi stood unscathed in a fiery vortex, realizing his weapon was absorbing the lava's energy. Fang Yi then used his script points to permanently infuse the Scarlet Flame attribute into his sword, which now radiated power. As the flames died down, his teammates assumed he'd had a minor cultivation mishap and recovered. The group was elated, noting the cave's spiritual energy had stabilized. One celebrated absorbing it smoothly, while another, on the cusp of starting his cultivation journey, excitedly shouted Xiaoya's name. The blonde agent, Xiaoya, urged them to train while she stood guard, and the team thanked her for the chance. The moment was disrupted when Xiaoya sensed figures nearing the entrance, warning that other pioneers were approaching. 3 burly men entered, led by one with an eye patch and glowing red eyes, who arrogantly claimed the resource-rich land as theirs. Xiaoya grew anxious, recognizing all 3 were at the 1-star Ghost Axe realm, a level her team couldn't match. Despite the threat, Xiaoya tried to negotiate, politely noting they arrived first and offering to include them. Her diplomacy was met with scorn. The eye patch-wearing leader mocked her low level and demanded they leave or face consequences. Xiaoya's face hardened. She reflected on the brutal reality of survival of the fittest in this era. As a member of the Zaya Nations Association, she resolved not to tolerate this injustice. Just as tensions peaked, Fang Yi stepped between Xiaoya and the hostile leader. With his sword ablaze, he coolly asked the large man if he had nothing better to do than intimidate a young woman. The eye patch-wearing leader stood stunned and silent. Without hesitation, Fang Yi unleashed a single devastating swing, igniting a fiery explosion that sent the 3 aggressors flying. The sudden force of the assault jolted Fang Yi's teammates out of their meditative state. He recalled the disasters caused by those who adhered to the survival of the fittest creed, understanding that only sheer power could sway such individuals. To emphasize his stance, Fang Yi thrust his sword into the earth before the opposing leader. Enveloped in a vast golden glow, he icily commanded them to leave. Shaken by this renewed show of strength, the rival leader branded Fang Yi a freak and shouted for his crew to flee as Fang Yi observed their retreat. His comrades hurried over, abuzz with awe at his formidable display. Fang Yi grinned, downplaying it and proposing they move on. As they departed, Xiaoya reflected on the immense strength Fang Yi had revealed. Realizing he had restrained himself, convinced he was a top-tier pioneer, she knew she had to immediately inform her organization of this significant find. The scene transitions to the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association's office, where a woman on a call with Shah echoed in astonishment that another high-attribute pioneer had emerged. The office worker became flustered, aware she'd revealed too much, especially with a stern man looming behind her. She clumsily ended the call after verifying the report. The young woman eagerly asked her gray-haired superior if they were fortunate enough to have two high-attribute pioneers consecutively. He, however, somberly clarified that luck played no part, noting that every high-attribute individual was fated to become a new focal point of power responsibility that weighed heavily on him. Beneath a bright sky, Fang Yi re-entered the city. He attempted to blend in as a cosplayer, but his commanding presence and genuine blade only attracted more eyes. His stroll was disrupted when he noticed on his phone that the cave incident had already spread widely online. He scolded himself for his recklessness, knowing the flare of his inner energy was too conspicuous. Dismissing the notion that his teammates would expose him, he turned to a pressing issue. The immense yang energy he'd absorbed was driving him toward a breakthrough. He needed solitude at once and headed for the back mountain. 5 minutes later, on that same mountain, a silver-haired woman named Su Qing Ying, a garden restoration specialist, sensed a sudden potent presence. She spotted a brilliant flash resembling a small sun and identified it as a cultivator advancing to the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. The magnitude of the energy stunned her. She'd never conceived a breakthrough in that realm could be so colossal. Compelled by duty and a spark of recognition, she dashed toward the disturbance, determined to confront the enigmatic figure this time. High on the mountain, Fang Yi was immersed in his breakthrough. He drew in vast streams of golden energy, which swirled around him before coalescing into a radiant sun-like orb above his head. As he meditated in midair, the energy behind him shaped a complex, star-like, divine pattern. Golden sparks danced across his skin, his eyes blazing with immense power as he wrestled to tame the wild energy. At last, the power solidified, forming a massive divine axe of pure golden and light blue energy, crackling with intensity. Meanwhile, Su Qingying arrived and halted abruptly at the astonishing sight. She stared in disbelief as the mysterious figure prepared to wield the divine axe he'd just fought. His control was extraordinary. She marveled at how anyone could wield such vast spiritual energy with such flawless precision and stability, wondering if this man had secretly trained for centuries. The scene stirred a painful memory. Su Qing recalled her own attempt to reach the 2-star Ghost Axe level. The pressure of her divine axe had overwhelmed her, forcing her to cough blood and confining her to bed for a week. She was naturally gifted, yet she'd failed miserably. She couldn't fathom how this prodigy could manage a breakthrough far more potent than hers. As she drew closer, her amazement deepened. The sheer volume of spiritual energy, the impeccable control in every motion of the axe, and the way each fragment of power seemed refined countless times it surpassed anything she'd witnessed. She concluded this person wasn't merely a prodigious anomaly, he was like a deity descended from the heavens. She also noted his calm, measured demeanor. Most pioneers, sensing an imminent breakthrough, would rush to complete it. This man, however, moved with profound experience and mental fortitude, like a master of ancient times. Her thoughts were interrupted as the massive fiery divine axe began to stir. She watched in awe as it swung purposefully eastward. At the height of his power, Fang Yi's eyes blazed with pure golden light, raw energy crackling across his face. He hovered within a dazzling storm of golden power, successfully harnessing the immense energy he'd gathered to ascend. A system window appeared, officially confirming his success. He had reached the 2-star Ghost Axe realm. The new divine axe crashed into the ground, unleashing its power in a tremendous shockwave that ripped through the mountain. Su Qingying braced against the surge of golden energy, which carved a wide swath through the forest before dissipating. But when she looked up, the mysterious figure had vanished entirely. Panting from exertion and frustration, Su Qingying couldn't believe she'd lost him again, despite arriving in just 30 seconds. A troubling thought struck her. He must have known she was tracking him. She feared that if he remained so elusive, her mission to recruit him would be futile. Just as she was about to abandon hope, an idea sparked. She shifted her gaze from the path of destruction to an ancient, towering tree now glowing faintly with residual golden light. With renewed conviction, she called out into the seemingly empty woods, addressing him as senior and asking if he was still nearby. From the forest's shadows, Fang Yi emerged, his hooded form exuding quiet confidence. His glowing red eyes fixed on Su Qingying. He instantly recognized her as the one investigating him for days. Realizing she'd been discovered, Su Qingying stood firm and formally introduced herself. She declared she was the captain of the Firefly Squad, part of the Xia Nation's Spiritual Practitioners Association, and one of the nation's earliest pioneers. On behalf of the association, she earnestly invited him to join. She admitted to tracking him for 2 days, hoping her approach hadn't offended him. As she spoke, Fang Yi remained silent, his expression unreadable beneath his hood. Su Qingying added that, though the public was unaware, the association's official documents were prepared. Internally, she was anxious, choosing her words cautiously, fearing she might irritate or anger the powerful man. She knew she had to speak with deference and tact. Her carefully crafted speech was cut off by Fang Yi's blunt, direct question, "Why should I join?" The straightforwardness caught her off guard. She faltered briefly, panicking over how to respond. She quickly realized that hollow platitudes would be ineffective against someone so discerning. Honesty was her only option. Composing herself, she explained the association's purpose. She told him the Xia Nation aimed to unite and guide all early pioneers, providing them with structure and added protection. She acknowledged that growth was chaotic now, and that an association might seem restrictive to a free spirit like him. But she urged him to consider the broader vision. A powerful resurgence of spiritual energy was on the horizon, and they would need to unite to confront the mysterious foes of the future. After hearing her fervent speech, Fang Yi leaned nonchalantly against a tree, appearing weary and disinterested. He stated plainly that he wasn't ready to join. He explained that, for the moment, he couldn't fully trust her or the organization she represented. Suching was utterly shocked and speechless at his blunt rejection, her eyes wide with disbelief. In response to his refusal, Su Qingying grew frantic. She swiftly pulled her identification card from her coat, holding it up for him to see, and reintroduced herself as Su Qingying, mentioning her past as a renowned athlete before the spiritual energy's return. She pleaded with him to trust her, hoping her public persona would lend credibility. Fang Yi paused, considering her word. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully, noting that he vaguely recalled her. His memory conjured an image of a framed photo showing her celebrating as the runner-up in the SIA Nations Long-Distance Championship. He recognized that her athletic prowess made her a swift and capable pioneer. But his expression hardened. A dark recollection from his past life surfaced, revealing a vision of a devastated city. He knew that in his original timeline, the Sea Nation's efforts, including the association, had ultimately failed, leading to humanity's demise. Now reborn with his system, he understood he had to be part of the solution. Yet, joining the association now wasn't the right move. Adopting a more contemplative expression, he looked at a hopeful Su Qingying and acknowledged that he did remember her. He told her he'd consider her proposal, and before she could respond, he leaped into the air and dashed away from the scene. In an instant, he reappeared directly behind a startled Su Qingying. He set a firm condition. She must keep his whereabouts secret from everyone for now. In his mind, he noted her respectful demeanor and surmised that the association was cautious about antagonizing powerful pioneers unaffiliated with them. He saw this as a vulnerability he could exploit. Su Qing suggested a compromise. She explained that the association had detected the energy from his breakthrough, requiring her to submit a report. She proposed filing a report blending truth and falsehoods to shield his identity while satisfying her superiors. After a moment's reflection, Fang Yi agreed to her plan. Su Qingying called out to him as he accepted, but in a flash, he vanished. She raced down the mountain slope after him, but it was futile. Exhausted and irritated, she trudged alone along a forest trail, muttering in frustration about her repeated failures to catch him and his efforts to evade her. She sighed, grumbling about the exhausting task of concealing the potent energy traces he left behind after each incident. Her thoughts were interrupted by a voice in her earpiece, urging her to stop fretting over the elusive pioneer and focus on her mission. The voice gravely informed her that the strange creatures had reappeared. Su Qingying froze, her eyes widening in shock as she asked if they had truly returned. A chilling memory flooded her mind, picturing herself surrounded by a horde of terrifying wolf-like beasts with bloodied jaws and glowing red eyes. She vowed never to forget those eerie, bloodthirsty creatures. The narrative clarified their nature: cold, malevolent, and ravenous monsters born from pollution zones created by the spiritual energy's return. These creatures drew power from the zones, transforming into human-devouring monstrosities. Some could even masquerade as natural disasters, slaughtering people while fracturing landscapes and spawning new pollution zones. If unchecked, their destructive nature would consume the human world until nothing remained. A fierce storm suddenly engulfed the city. The night sky was illuminated not by streetlights but by relentless, violent lightning flashes. Torrential rain poured down, and red alerts flashed on people's phones, warning of a severe thunderstorm and urging everyone to stay indoors. Another alert declared the Yuhuang mountain area closed due to flooding risks. From their windows, people remarked that they hadn't seen such a ferocious storm in years, some jesting that a mighty being might be undergoing a lightning trial nearby. Concealed in a rain-soaked alley, Fang Yi observed the storm with a grim expression, his red eye glowing. He sensed the immense lightning energy in the air. Recognizing its untamed power, he knew this was no ordinary storm, but another anomaly. With its energy concentrated at a single point, his gaze pierced through the city's buildings and fixed on a distant mountain peak repeatedly struck by lightning. He had located the storm's epicenter. Without hesitation, Fang Yi plunged into the downpour, vaulting across rooftops as he raced toward the mountain. Upon reaching the base of Yuhuang Mountain, his system instantly confirmed the presence of a pollution zone. He looked up at the peak, but instead of its usual splendor, he saw a bleak landscape littered with skeletal remains among gnarled trees. Another system alert heightened the danger, indicating an unknown pollution level. Undeterred, Fang Yi pressed forward with a resolute expression, advancing into the dark, tempestuous forest. As he neared the storm's core, he witnessed a massive bolt of blue lightning strike the mountain's summit, illuminating the entire area. He had found his target. Within the Spiritual Practitioners Association's command center, officials convened a tense meeting. A large screen displayed a swirling vortex of blue energy above a mountain peak. An official reported that the threat on Mount Yuang was escalating rapidly, necessitating its closure and designation as a new contamination zone. The stern-faced association leader declared the situation so dire that he had to reassign Su Qingying from another critical mission. He requested her report on the developments. Su Qingying informed the officials that climbing the mountain was currently impossible due to the volatile thunder energy on the verge of erupting. Consequently, the area was officially designated an A-level contamination zone. She added more troubling news. Based on the energy's rapid growth, the mountain would soon become an S-level threat, triggering their highest emergency protocol. However, she highlighted a significant issue. Their data indicated no explorer in their ranks could safely approach the area, admitting that even she couldn't handle it. A wave of dismay swept through the room as calculations revealed the mission would be fatal even for highly skilled explorers. Confronted with this dire predicament, a man in a security uniform ordered the complete sealing of Mount Yuhuang's base. With patrols deployed around the clock to prevent anyone from attempting the climb, the association leader firmly concurred. He declared that the threat must be contained by isolating the mountain, prohibiting anyone from approaching until the energy levels subsided. Although the association deemed Mount Yuang too perilous, Fang Yi was already far within its forbidden zone. Gigantic bolts of azure lightning thundered around him. As the tempest roared, Fang Yi stood resolute, shielded by a radiant golden aura from his breathing technique. Yet, he understood that merely enduring the storm wasn't sufficient. To harness the purest thunder energy, he needed to ascend to the storm's heart at the mountain's summit. His resolve was driven by haunting memories of the past. He knew the creatures they now faced were only the beginning, with even more fearsome beasts looming in the future. He recognized that his existing fire-based abilities were inadequate for the trials ahead. He needed to grow stronger himself, not just depend on his weapon. Encircled by lightning, Fang Yi saw a rare and perfect chance to use the thunder's energy to fortify his own body. He knew that failing to seize this opportunity would mean certain doom in the disasters to come. His eyes gleaming with golden light, he unsheathed his blazing sword and, with a rebellious shout, thrust it into a colossal bolt of blue lightning. The untamed energy surged through him, inflicting excruciating pain, yet his expression remained steadfast. His body trembled violently as the electricity coursed through him. He realized this thunder power was like a divine retribution, actively resisting him. The storm, enraged by his intrusion into its domain, seemed to demand his surrender. Gazing at the turbulent sky, he pondered how to subdue such a raw force. Then, an idea struck him. He steadied himself and recalled his system's rule: to claim a power, he had to make contact with its source. A brilliant golden aura burst from him as he unleashed his golden sun-breathing technique. With a fierce roar, Fang Yi pressed forward, wielding his flaming sword to carve a path through the storm of blue lightning. The collision of his golden energy with the wild storm sparked a massive chaotic explosion. Blood seeped from his mouth due to the strain. but his eyes blazed with resolve. He knew this was a desperate gamble, pushing himself to the brink of death to survive. After a grueling struggle, he reached the summit. He drove his sword into the earth, splitting the rock as he arrived at the storm's core. Here, the power was even more formidable, a ferocious torrent of thunder energy that made breathing nearly impossible. He felt the storm's full focus on him and realized it no longer merely sought to repel him, it wanted to annihilate him. As if to confirm this, the storm amassed its entire might and unleashed a single blinding beam of white-hot lightning straight at him, an attack meant to obliterate him entirely. As Fang Yi confronted the storm's ultimate assault, his system activated, detecting a potent thunder attribute and beginning to process it. Far below in the city, onlookers watched from a high-rise, awestruck. One man, snapping a photo, had never witnessed lightning so immense. Another speculated if a deity was undergoing a trial, even claiming to glimpse a figure in the sky. At the mountain's peak, the battle culminated in a dazzling explosion. Fang Yi had triumphed. A system notification confirmed his victory, declaring he had acquired refined divine thunder power and could now summon celestial lightning to render his body godlike. He earned 5 writing points. Now floating in the air, enveloped by blue lightning and his golden aura, Fang Yi grasped the extent of his new power. The thunder attribute was a supreme force for both offense and defense. Unlike his sun power, which primarily served defense, the thunder could refine his body and transform it into potent energy. He decided the thunder would be both his spear and his shield. He also realized this power wasn't solely about destruction, it was about purification and renewal. He could feel the energy fortifying his bones and muscles painlessly. The system then offered an upgrade to punish evil, which would double his critical damage, asking if he wished to spend writing points to acquire it. Landing gently, Fang Yi contemplated his next move. His initial thought was to infuse this new thunder power into his Tang sword. He weighed the idea carefully. While it would enhance the blade's strength, he feared it might disrupt the purity of the sun attribute already embedded within it. He also knew that combining too many distinct powers in one item could damage or even destroy it. Suddenly, a brilliant idea emerged. Looking at his hand, he chose a different path. He would embed the thunder attribute directly into his right hand. The system promptly responded, asking if he wanted to infuse the thunder attribute into the selected item. A confident smirk crossed his face as he issued the command. Instantly, all the wild blue lightning in the air surged into his right hand as he claimed the storm's power for himself. The following day, on the storm-ravaged peak of Mount Yuang, the immediate threat had dissipated. Below a cliff, Suing Ying and an army officer named Major Han Li stood over several figures in body bags. Suing Ying reported that the contamination zone's energy had inexplicably plummeted from its most hazardous level to a mild one in just 3 hours. Though some residual electricity lingered in the air, Major Han Li listened and quickly deduced what had transpired. Someone had been there, a seeker, an individual who actively pursues such dangerous phenomena. Suing Ying was stunned, wondering if another seeker was involved and whether they could have survived. She knelt to search for clues but found nothing, suspecting the heavy rain had erased any evidence. She concluded the seeker must have safely left the mountain around 8 p.m. the previous night. Major Han Li concurred with her timeline. The strange event began around 6:00 p.m., and the army sealed the mountain at 7:00 p.m., meaning the seeker must have ascended before the closure. He noted that their instruments had predicted the danger would reach grade S, but after 8 p.m., the energy abruptly dropped. Standing where the lightning had been most intense, the Major offered his own theory. The Seeker not only survived the lightning but likely possessed a thunder-related power, turning the catastrophe into a remarkable opportunity. He concluded this individual was the direct cause of the sudden shift. The Major then voiced his greatest concern. Such people were the most dangerous because their allegiances were unknown. Su Ying agreed, noting that if such a powerful person posed a threat, the devastation they could unleash would be immense. They needed to be found swiftly. Miles away, lounging on his couch and unaware of the military operation now targeting him, Fang Yi let out a loud, sudden sneeze. Back on the mountain, Major Han Li made his decision. He issued a firm order to his troops: locate this individual immediately, at any cost. The inquiry into the events on Yu Huang Mountain commenced immediately. The military aimed for the Spiritual Practitioners Association to swiftly enlist the enigmatic figure known as Tyrant. Meanwhile, they planned to keep all details of the incident under wraps and launch their own probe. At the rain-soaked summit, the association's head informed Major Han Li that a high-ranking pioneer was already attempting to establish contact. He then directed Su Qingyi to deliver her report to the Major. Caught off guard, Su Qingyi gasped in alarm at the command. Forced to think quickly, she began her partially truthful account. She linked the current event to the pioneer, who had recently purified the contamination zone at a nearby university. Internally, she was in turmoil, dreading the possibility of slipping up and exposing her arrangement with Fang Yi. She stated she had been trying to reach him, but he was elusive. She described discovering the remains of a mutated rabbit he had slain, and accurately identified his Yang Flame attribute from the evidence. She concluded by vowing to do her utmost to connect with him and uncover how he had cleared the university's gate. Silently, she prayed for guidance, knowing that blending truth with deception was her only way to make her story convincing. Major Han Li listened intently, pondering the implications of a pioneer wielding a Yang Flame attribute. He appeared satisfied with her report and commended her efforts, calling her a promising young pioneer. Su Qingyi responded with a crisp salute, stating it was her duty. As the meeting concluded, Major Han Li noted they would spread false reports of natural disasters to conceal the incident from the public. He also expressed his disapproval of sharing spiritual energy data online, where malicious individuals could exploit it. As the officials conversed, Su Qingyi exhaled quietly, relieved that the intense scrutiny had ended. Back at his residence, Fang Yi employed his golden sun-breathing method to effortlessly dry his white hoodie, causing it to radiate a warm glow, before holding it up, perfectly clean and dry. After donning it, he assessed the changes in his body. Even after integrating the potent thunder attribute, he could still sense a distinct difference. He gazed at his right hand, now crackling with blue lightning. It had transformed entirely, becoming the most powerful part of his body and gaining a significant enhancement. As he flexed his fingers, generating tiny orbs of lightning, he felt he was on the verge of another breakthrough. What astonished him most was how the once unruly thunder attribute had become as tame as a kitten after merging with his body, allowing him full control. He contrasted this with the excruciating pain he endured when he first unlocked the Yang attribute, and wondered if the energies diminished during the process. Recalling that the system had informed him this new power inflicted double damage on bizarre and malevolent creatures, he was eager to test it. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden notification from his phone on a nearby table. He picked it up, curious about what was happening now. He had set up specific news alerts after the previous incident, aware that in these chaotic times, the government would issue warnings to safeguard citizens. For a pioneer like him, though, these alerts were more than just danger signals. In every crisis lay an opportunity to grow stronger, even at the risk of his life. As Fang Yi contemplated his next move, he glanced at the major news alert on his phone. The report claimed a massive explosion had occurred at a chemical plant, causing significant pollution in the city. The official narrative stated no one was injured and urged calm. However, Fang Yi was skeptical of such a major event. He checked online forums where eyewitnesses painted a far more chilling picture. Nearby residents described an eerie, inexplicable sensation. One person questioned if it was a cold, malevolent aura, and another quickly concurred. While many expressed skepticism, the prevailing sentiment was one of dread and unease. The terms cold and evil aura struck a chord with Fang Yi. Suddenly, a horrific memory from his past life resurfaced: a bloody hand and a monstrous creature. He recalled cowering in terror from a colossal red demonic beast as it ravaged everything around it. The creature, a grotesque, multi-eyed rat-like monster, was a familiar threat. Back in the present, his expression grew grave. He remembered the nature of these beings, plants or animals that transformed bizarrely after gaining self-awareness, their power spiraling out of control and granting them terrifying predatory abilities. They thrived in the darkness of night. Recognizing that this new threat was 100 times more dangerous than the mutated rabbit he had previously battled, Fang Yi knew he had to act. Clenching his fist, which sparked with blue lightning, he resolved to venture out that night to prevent these creatures from surviving and growing stronger. Standing up, he was enveloped by blue electrical energy. He decided it was time to test his new 200% critical hit ability in a real battle. On a stormy, dark night, rain poured onto the deserted city street. As a traffic light shifted, a streak of movement darted across the wet pavementa squad of cloaked figures moving with remarkable speed. These were the members of the Destroyer Squad, and they were on a hunt. One member reported to their headquarters that they were tracking Anomaly File Number 7, codenamed Candle Knight, but had lost the target. The entity's documented ability was to merge seamlessly into the shadows, rendering it nearly impossible to track. A squad member contributed fresh, chilling details to the dossier. The anomaly emitted a soft hissing noise when nearby and had a penchant for consuming humans. As lightning illuminated the night sky, the squad touched down on a rooftop, surveying the sprawling city below. Their commander, a resolute figure with fair hair and a facial scar, understood that the tempestuous weather was ideal for the creature's hunt. With steely determination, he declared they could not allow it to proceed. Far off, in a bustling command hub, an operator received the updated data. He verified the new information for File 7, confirming that the Candle Knight had been logged. The situation was dire. An extermination order was submitted with utmost urgency, aiming for resolution within 12 hours. Headquarters responded, directing the Destroyer Squad to continue pursuing the target, while emphasizing that their safety was paramount. Without hesitation, the team resumed their pursuit, vaulting across rooftops in the rain-soaked city. The squad leader paused, studying a glowing holographic map dotted with red markers indicating active anomalies. He knew a 12-hour response window wasn't swift, but it was the best headquarters could manage. The nation was vast, and with anomalies emerging everywhere, even their sophisticated resources were spread thin. As the Destroyer Squad neared the target's last known position, a warning crackled through from headquarters. The operator informed them that the area they were entering was currently under surveillance by agents from the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association. An image of Su Qingying flashed on the screen as the operator noted that her team was monitoring pioneers in the vicinity and could be requested for assistance. The destroyer squad's leader acknowledged the transmission and asked headquarters to enlist her aid, mentioning he'd heard of her impressive reputation. Elsewhere, Su Qingjing was taken aback to learn of her growing fame. The destroyer squad waited somberly in the downpour. Soon, Su Qingjing and her cloaked team arrived, positioning themselves on a higher rooftop. With a hand on her hip, she gazed down at the squad and asked nonchalantly if they were the ones dragging her into overtime. The destroyer squad's leader, irked by her casual demeanor, responded sharply that the Candle Night anomaly devoured people, making this far more critical than a mere overtime request. One of Su Qingying's team members fired back, questioning whether that was the proper way to request assistance. Su Qingying then turned to depart, remarking that the destroyer squad seemed capable enough to handle it without her help. She declared that her team, the Ying squad, would be leaving. As they began to withdraw, her team members murmured among themselves, expressing concern over their leader's sharp attitude, another defending her, noting that their own missions were equally perilous. The destroyer squad's leader, gripped by sudden panic, called out for her to wait. He apologized for his brusque tone and pleaded for her assistance. He detailed the extreme danger posed by the Candle Night and emphasized that without her renowned tracking expertise, their mission would be severely hampered. He underscored that if his team failed, the city's residents would bear the consequences, as the creature would slaughter them all. After forming an alliance, the two teams gathered on a rain-soaked rooftop, poised for the hunt. Su Qingying focused intently, conjuring a radiant blue orb of energy in her palm. She declared she had located the creature. The orb's light pulsed outward, revealing the monster's position. Concealed within the shadowy, damp ruins of an old chemical plant, the grotesque, multi-eyed, rat-like beast, known as Candle Night, was devouring something. Its profile indicated a preference for darkness, moisture, and human flesh. With the target pinpointed, Su Qingying issued the order to commence the joint mission. The creature, with its keen senses, immediately looked up, detecting their presence. It leaped away just as an attack struck the spot where it had stood. A member of the destroyer squad noted that the target had spotted them and commanded the team to assemble. The squad moved with astonishing speed, their cloaks a blur as they pursued the beast. They encircled it from all directions, trapping their prey, and shouted in unison, ready to strike. One destroyer squad member surged forward, yelling the order to attack. He landed a powerful blow, sending the creature crashing into a heap of debris. But rather than weakening, the monster's form began to transform, its back sprouting red sores and jagged black spikes. With a piercing screech, the enraged Candle Night retaliated, unleashing a whirlwind of dark energy. Su Qingying frantically warned the teams to beware of the sonic wave and evade it. Her warning came a fraction too late. A massive sonic blast erupted from the creature, hurling the squad members backward. The destroyer squad's leader was flung off the rooftop, crashing onto the street below. A teammate rushed to his side. The leader struggled to his feet, battered but alive, admitting that if he hadn't dodged at the last moment, his bones would have been shattered. He realized the dire threat they faced. If the creature remained in the city, it would unleash catastrophic destruction. The battle shifted as Candle Night continued its transformation. It sprouted massive bat-like wings and emitted a roar, its throat glowing with emerald energy. It then unleashed a corrosive black substance, filling the air with toxic green fumes. The creature directed this blast at the ground, attempting to melt the pavement to burrow underground and escape. One of Su Qingying's team members alerted her to the monster's corrosive dark power, warning that anything it touched would be obliterated. She added that their team lacked the strength to counter it. Su Qingying, however, remained composed. she instructed her team to stay vigilant and avoid disrupting the Destroyer Squad's formation, emphasizing that their primary role was to collect data and support strategy. Meanwhile, a Destroyer Squad member wielding a dagger prepared to strike the fleeing creature. Suddenly, a pair of sinister red eyes gleamed from the shadows. The winged Candle Knight lunged, narrowly evading an attack from a leaping squad member. Infuriated, the Destroyer Squad leader shouted at his team to prevent the monster's escape. The winged beast soared through the city streets, pursued by the cloaked members of the Ying Squad. From a high vantage point, Su Qingying and two of her teammates observed. Abruptly, she detected a sharp surge in spiritual energy from the creature's direction. Sensing a critical development, she ordered her team to remain outside while she pursued the creature alone. The chase led them to a vast, dark, abandoned factory. Inside, Su Qingying announced she would scan the area's spiritual energy. The Destroyer Squad's leader noticed the sophisticated watch on her wrist. She confirmed it was a new device from the association, explaining that it indicated a safe energy level for a squad was 50. Candle Knight's reading had been 48. Suddenly, the device began flashing erratically, the reading soaring past 80. Su Qingying shouted that the energy levels were spiking uncontrollably. At that moment, a colossal shadowy figure with glowing green eyes emerged in the rafters above. They had been lured into a trap. Su Qingying realized with dread that there was more than one creature in the factory. The shadowy, monstrous face of a second beast loomed behind them. The Destroyer Squad's leader panicked, shouting that they needed to retreat immediately. Taking command, Su Qingying proposed a tactical withdrawal toward the main entrance to force the hidden enemy to reveal itself. She fired a burst of energy to clear a path, calling for her team to follow. But before they could escape, she cried out in agony and collapsed, overwhelmed by an invisible poisonous gas. Su Qingying found herself alone in the eerie green darkness of the factory. She called out to her team, but received no response. She knew they were nearby, but the poison had dulled their senses, rendering them unable to detect her. Piecing together the situation, she understood the full extent of the trap. Candle Knight had deliberately led them to this factory, the domain of a far more formidable creature, a giant serpent she had only vaguely sensed earlier. As if summoned by her realization, the massive, armored head of a shadowy serpent with glowing green eyes loomed over her. She realized now that, unlike the straightforward dark energy of the Candle Knight, this entity's shadowy mist was a potent toxin, and they had been inhaling it since their arrival. The gas operated stealthily, immobilizing its prey while sapping their spiritual vitality. Resisting would only deplete their strength more rapidly, ensuring their demise. She could sense her own spiritual essence nearly exhausted. Without it, she knew she would soon become another casualty. As her strength faded and she crumpled to the ground, she despaired at the chilling cunning of a creature that was merely toying with them. Shutting her eyes, she wondered if this was the end. Sprawled on the factory floor, defeated, Su Qingying glimpsed a solitary beam of light piercing the greenish gloom overhead. A spark of hope flickered in her gaze. Abruptly, the factory's ceiling burst inward, and a dazzling radiance flooded the space. Her eyes widened as a figure descended through the breach. It was Fang Yi. He landed elegantly amid the debris, his cloaked silhouette stark against the glowing gap above. He faced the enormous serpent, instantly recognizing it as a creature of dark essence. Without hesitation, the serpent struck, its massive fangs aimed at him. Simultaneously, the Candle Knight creature erupted from the shadows, attacking from behind. Fang Yi evaded the serpent's lunge and found himself confronting the snarling, rat-like beast. As the two monsters closed in, he grasped the full extent of the trap he had stumbled into. In a stunning move, Fang Yi allowed the Candle Knight creature to sink its teeth into his shoulder. As blood sprayed, he acknowledged their remarkably clever strategy, one creature to lure the prey, the other to deliver the kill. He mocked the beast clamped onto him, questioning whether it relished biting its victims so much. In response, he unleashed his newfound power. Brilliant blue lightning surged from his body as he dared the monster to taste his thunder essence. Simultaneously, he launched a tremendous beam of golden solar energy from his free hand, striking the charging serpent directly. Now enveloped in crackling electricity and freed from the stunned rat-like creature, Fang Yi turned his full focus to the serpent, unleashing a torrent of golden flames, while challenging it to test its resilience against fire.